Hello and welcome to IT and Automation. This is part 2 of our Linux tutorial series. If you are new to Linux and want to learn it from scratch, I highly recommend checking out part 1 of the Linux tutorial where I have discussed about some foundational concepts, background and benefits of learning Linux. So this episode is about the Linux boot process or startup process or what happens when we turn on the Linux machine or restart it. It is also one of the most asked questions in an interview. So let's look into it. The Linux boot process is a series of steps that occur when a computer is powered on or restarted. So the first one is BIOS or UEFI initialization. So the BIOS stands for Basic Input Output System and UEFI stands for Unified Extensible Firmware Interface. So when we first turn on our computer, BIOS or UEFI starts executing, which means it initializes hardware components such as the CPU, memory and storage devices. It performs a power on self-test to check for hardware errors. So if there are any hardware errors, then you can see them on BIOS or UEFI screen. So the second process is bootloader or grub stage 1. In stage 1, after the hardware initializations, the BIOS or UEFI locates and loads the bootloader from the boot device. The most common bootloader in Linux system is the grub, which stands for Grand Unified Bootloader. Grub stage 1 is loaded into memory and executes its primary function, locating and loading the stage 2 bootloader. Grub stage 2 is more complex than stage 1 and is capable of understanding file systems. It loads the kernel image and initial RAM disks, also called as Init RAM FS, into memory. The kernel image and Init RAM FS are typically located on the file system and grub uses file system driver to access them. And the fourth process is the Linux kernel initializations. Once the kernel image and Init RAM FS are loaded into memory, the Linux kernel starts executing. The kernel performs hardware detection and initialization, such as identifying CPU, memory, storage devices and other hardware components. It mounts the root file system, which contains the operating system's file. And the fifth process is init process, also called as systemd or system daemon. After the kernel initializations, the init process is executed. In modern Linux distributions such as Ubuntu, Fedora and Debian, systemd is the default init system. Systemd initializes the user space, starts essential system services and manages system processes. And the sixth process is user space initializations. Once systemd starts, it executes system startup scripts, services and daemons according to the configured system targets. Users sessions may also be initialized, providing a graphical or command line interface for users to interact with the system. And the last one is the login prompt. Finally, after the initialization of user space, the system presents a login prompt to users. Users can log in using their credential to access the system and start using the installed applications and services. So this sequence of steps constitutes the Linux boot process, starting from hardware initialization to user login. It is really good to understand each of these stages as it helps in troubleshooting boot issues and optimizing system startup performance. So that's the end of part 2 on Linux tutorial. Be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode. Thanks for tuning in and I'll see you in the next video.